Hullcracker versus Jupiter. If you like me, need to farm for Expedition Vault or Stash Expansion, this is a good moment to pick your best weapon for it. So today I'm comparing the Hullcracker versus Jupiter because in my opinion those are two best weapons for this. Hullcracker without the lightweight stock and Hullcracker 4 costs 22,000 and Jupiter costs 27,500 with the lightweight stock, which in my opinion is the only attachment that makes sense, except for the kinetic converter. The cost is nearly the same, 27k. Blueprint search difficulty. There is no blueprint for Hullcracker. I mean, it cannot be found. The only way is to get it from the quest. It's not very hard, but it's very inconvenient. It's very long to do it. So I would say the difficulty is 7 out of 10. The Jupiter blueprint, you have to go to the Harvester event and get it from the puzzle that's inside, but it's significantly easier, especially when we're talking about blueprints. It's one of the easiest blueprints that can be get, in my opinion. I would give it 3 out of 10. The ammo cost. The full energy clip is 1,000. The full clip of launcher ammo is 6,000. But, and this is very important, launcher ammo can be created out of very basic stuff. So arc motion cores are created from arc alloy and crude explosives are created from chemicals. But energy clips cannot be, because advanced arc power cells is something that you need to get, and batteries are also something that you need to get. However, there's a very simple way to get tons of energy clips, which is just going to the Harvester event and getting energy clips out of the Harvester event, and therefore the cost of energy clips is lower than the launcher ammo. So all in all, the production is won by the Jupiter. Let's test small arc. How many shots to kill? Wasp. Hullcracker. 1 shot. Jupiter. Wasp. 1. Firefly. Hullcracker. 2. Jupiter. Firefly. 2. Hullcracker versus Fireball. 1 shot. Jupiter versus Fireball. 1. Hullcracker versus Comet. 2. Jupiter versus Comet. 2. Hullcracker versus Shredder. 3. Jupiter versus Shredder. 2. Jupiter versus Hullcracker versus Small Arc. I feel like it's a tie. However, Hullcracker is better option because it shoots faster, and Jupiter needs to aim a little bit, while the attack speed matters in this case. So I think that Hullcracker wins here. Hullcracker versus Bastion. 23, 24. Jupiter versus Bastion. $15. Hullcracker versus Leaper. Jupiter versus Leaper. Alright, Hullcracker versus Vaporizer. 11. Jupiter versus Vaporizer. $60. Hullcracker versus Rocketeer. Seven? Oh. Rocketeer. Jupiter. So for arcs that have less armor, Hullcracker is better. But Jupiter goes through armor better. That's first thing. However, there's one more thing to consider here, which is in case of medium arc, Jupiter is a lot easier to fight with because of the one of the range, two because it's easier to hit flying targets with Jupiter than with Hullcracker. It's definitely a huge difference. I think I will say that Jupiter wins here just because it's easier to handle versus flying arc. Hullcracker versus Queen leg armor. 7. Jupiter versus Queen Leg Armor. Five. Hullcracker Matriarch. 4. Now the Jupiter. Four as well. So in case of bosses, Jupiter deals more damage because it goes through armor better. And it is also a lot better to handle because you want to be far away from the bosses. I didn't test the damage against the bosses themselves because it would take too much time. But basically from here, I already can say that Jupiter wins against Hullcracker versus the bosses. All right. Now the verdict. Let's go from the beginning. Production has been won by the Jupiter because the cost is basically more or less the same, although it needs to be said here that the Jupiter is costs a queen core, which is not exactly that easy to get, so that slightly is better for the Hullcracker. However, the blueprint, from my experience, if you're doing expeditions, getting the blueprint for the Hullcracker is really annoying, and the Jupiter is one of the easiest blueprints to find. And the ammo cost, because of the harvester event and because you're gonna be getting a lot of cells, it's a lot cheaper to make ammo for the Jupiter. So the production is won by the Jupiter. Small arc. The hit to kill was nearly the same for both weapons. However, handling a Hullcracker versus small arc is a lot better because the Hullcracker shoots faster and doesn't need to charge. So against small arc, it's definitely better to use the Hullcracker. Now, medium arc, it depends on the arc, and I've only tested 4 of them, but basically less armored arc are easier to kill with the Hullcracker, and highly armored arc are easier to kill with Jupiter because it breaks armor better. However, if we're talking about flying arc, Jupiter is a lot easier to handle versus them, and Jupiter is also capable of shooting from far. I would say that Jupiter won this category. And finally, we have bosses. The bosses were definitely won by the Jupiter because you want to stay away from the bosses, be really far, and therefore Jupiter is better against the bosses as well. So finally we come to the verdict, and Jupiter wins. Now I know what I'm gonna go farm win with. Thank you for watching. If you like this, hit a like, hit a subscribe. Tell me in the comments down below if you agree or if you don't agree. And let's start farming for the expedition.